Hello and welcome to How to Do Business with the State of California, presented in partnership with the DGS, Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services, and hosted by Norcal PTAC. My name is Amanda Anderson. I am a program assistant for Norcal PTAC, and I'm joined today by these lovely ladies, Diane Leiden and Joanne Patty, part of the California OSDS. But before I turn it over to Diane for the bulk of this presentation, I do want to give you a little bit of housekeeping notes. You can use the chat at any point in time to network with other participants or reach out to myself or Joanne directly if you're having any kind of technical difficulties. And you can do that by the big blue button right above your chat box. As for any questions you may have about the presentation or about government procurement, please do drop those in the Q&A section, which is at the bottom left middle of your screen. That way we can make sure that we are tracking the questions we get and making sure everybody gets their questions answered. And then I'll go ahead and let you know a little bit about what the PTAC program does. So the PTAC program is a nationwide program with over 96 centers. And we have 7 PTAC centers that serve California, whereas Norcal PTAC, we have a subset of California. We work specifically with Northern California, and you'll see the specific counties that we operate within noted on the slide. And we offer a ton of awesome services at absolutely no cost to you. And they all fall under the 3 pillars of our program. The first one being one-on-one counseling. And this is where you reach out to us and we'll be able to set you up with a procurement specialist who's been working in government procurement for years and years and has expertise and knowledge to help you be successful. Our second pillar, our custom bid matching, is another great boon to our clients. Our custom bid matching allows us to send an email directly to your inbox with a list of solicitations that match a criteria that you have set up with your procurement specialist. So you can sit down and fine-tune what kind of opportunities you're looking for, and this service will send them directly to you. Our third pillar, and one of my favorites, is all of our resources and training. And it's because they're absolutely free to everyone and anyone. So even if you may not qualify for services, may not be in our service area, you are always more than welcome to check out our website and look at all of the free resources we have, as well as attending webinars just like this at absolutely no cost. So if you find that you are looking for PTAC services in your government contracting journey, please do feel free to sign up at norcalptac.org if you are within our service area. And if you're not, again, it's a nationwide program, and you definitely have a local center near you, which you can find at aptac-us.org. And with that, I believe I will pass it over to Diane to let us know about the state of California procurement.
Great, fantastic. Thank you very much, Amanda. That's a wonderful presentation of your services and so well needed in the community. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for taking time from your schedule to attend today's webinar. My name is Diane Leiden. I am a business outreach liaison for the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services with the Department of General Services for the state of California. I am actually new to this position. A couple months ago, I joined the unit, and I previously was the manager of education and training for Northern California World Trade Center, where I actually put very similar educational training programs together for small businesses such as yours. But that was really more towards diversifying your revenues in the world of international business. And so my background is essentially in business development and marketing and sales. So I've helped a lot of small businesses over many years. But today, I'm here to present the first of 3 webinars or workshops that we offer to help small, diverse businesses and disabled veteran businesses pursue contracting opportunities or how to sell to the state. So the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services, often referred to as OSDS, we're here to assist you with certification. That's what we're talking about mainly in this webinar today, is certification, and then how to access the ability to sell to the state. And we do that through 3 ways. We do outreach, education, and advocacy. So as an outreach, as a business outreach liaison, I can help you to better understand how to do business with the state, what steps you'll need to take to get started, best practices to position your company, and offer resources to help you navigate the process. So we want to ensure that all small businesses have an opportunity and ideally succeed in contracting with the state. So you've registered for the workshop, so at least you're curious about doing business with the state. So let's get started. Ideally, at the end of this webinar, you're going to understand state certification and how state buying works and kind of determine, is it worthwhile for my business or is it worthwhile for your business? You'll have some resources to begin the registration and certification process. And a lot of this may sound like a lot. We're going to stop after each topic and we'll pause, we'll do some Q&A and clarifications. And so remember, if during the delivery of my presentation, you want to put those questions into the Q&A, please do, then we'll stop at the end of the topic. So what I'm going to cover today is obviously our program. We're going to talk about the types of certification that the state of California offers. We're going to talk about our main website, which is Cali Procure. It's a one-stop shop. It's where you can register and certify your business and get all sorts of information and resources. I'm going to talk about creating your profile once you do certify and register your business on Cali Procure and what it means to have those keywords and codes. I'm also going to talk about current solicitations and past solicitations as well, and how those are useful for you in your research and business development in trying to sell to the state. I'm also going to talk about the role of advocates and the importance in marketing your service and products to the state and how the advocates can serve you best. We'll also go over some commercially useful functions, which is essentially compliance when you either pre-award, award, and post, so through the life of the contract. And lastly, we're going to review resources. All right, so let's dig in here. As you can see from this slide, the state of California has a pretty large annual spend, and each department or agency has a mandated goal to contract 25% of their purchases with small businesses and 3% with disabled veteran businesses, or DVBEs. You'll often hear me say SB or DVBE. So DVBE is a reference to this disabled veteran business enterprises. SB is to small business. And on the left side of this slide, you'll see that the state awarded over $21 billion in contract dollars. For SBs and micro business, the awards in dollars was just over $3 billion. And with DVBEs, it was over $500 million in contract dollars. And this represents actually the highest dollar amount for both of these programs in the history of contracting for this, contract dollars with the state. I want to break down these figures a little bit more because it's important to understand that due to the sudden and incredible increase of emergency contract dollars over the last several years, this is the 2020-2021 fiscal year numbers. It did skew the contracting with the SBs and DVBs in terms of our mandated goal. The state had an increase of over $9 billion just from emergency services or emergency contracts in the last year, in the previous year. Small businesses and disabled veteran businesses struggled a bit to participate in those emergency contracts. And we're looking at opportunities where we can get more small businesses involved in the emergency services contracting, and I'm going to talk about that a little later. But how do you go about getting a piece of these contract dollars? First, it's important to certify your business. The state of California, through the Department of General Services, offers 3 business certifications. They're listed here: small business for the purpose of public works, and disabled veteran business enterprises. You might be asking, I'm a women-owned business, I'm in a more minority business or a disadvantaged business. Those are not certifications recognized by the state due to legislation actually recently passed. However, you might know that Caltrans, or the Department of Transportation, does use the federal disadvantaged business enterprise certification. And the reason they can is because they use federal dollars for some of their projects. But we're just going to talk about the 3 state certifications today. And as I said, our goal really is to help you understand how the state buys and improve your ability to successfully sell to the state and evaluate the opportunities. Consider if this is the best fit for your company and what level of risk. It's really important for small businesses that you diversify your revenues. It's like almost having a farm and you have a well and you only have one well and that well dries up. What do you do with your revenue? So contracting or selling to the state can diversify your revenue, kind of create more wells on your farm, just as a reference. But I'd like to ask, and you can put this in the chat, what do you believe are the benefits of certification and why certify your business? Just go ahead and type a quick answer in the chat. I'd love to get your feedback. Anybody out there with some thoughts?
We're looking. Why get certified? Why get certified?
Why get certified? Well, we're going to go to that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, why become certified with the state? You can see the sheer size of the state's buying power and broad purchasing. It's enormous, right? And other than luxury and in entertainment items, the state pretty much buys everything. Just a quick little story here. There was a woman who was a disabled veteran. She made lipstick and she wanted to sell to the state. In the end, what she did was she developed a lipstick that was camouflage in color with sunscreen and was successful in her contracting bid. So let's go over some of those advantages of certification. The 5% preference. This gives small businesses an opportunity to compete against large non-certified companies. So you'll get a 5% bid preference on a small business, as a small business on contracts. As a DVBE, you can get up to a 5% bid incentive. Now this depends on the contract, and the discretion is left up to the department to determine the incentive percentage for a particular purchase. A couple of things to note here. There are some caps on this preference. So for small business, the cap is $50,000. So $1 million contract is where you'd reach the cap of that 5% preference. And for DVBEs, if you were to, because one of the great things about being both certified as a small business and a DVBE is you're able to combine or stack both of these incentives. And if you were to take advantage of both, then the cap raises up, it doubles. It's 100,000 on a, let's say a $2 million contract would be where you would max out. So that's important to know as an advantage for a small business or a DVBE. I'd also like to talk about the exclusivity of contract opportunities. So when you're certified, your company is added to the DGS certified database. Not only will this allow you to bid on solicitations, but it also you might find that you're going to be solicited for contract opportunities from the state agencies, because the state agencies or departments use, and the buyers of those departments use this database to find suppliers. We actually have a streamlined contracting process that buyers use known as the SB DVB option. And this is a competitive but non-advertised option. It narrows the solicitation and contracts directly with a certified small business or DVBE company. And these contracts are between 500,000 and 250,000. And so the departments have to obtain 2 quotes from either a small business or micro business or the certified DVBEs. Moving on, there's 3 more I'd like to quickly discuss. The Prompt Payment Act. As a small business, we know you have cash flow issues. If you get into a contract with the state, you know, you're going to have to put out some cash. So the Prompt Payment Act allows small businesses to be paid within 45 days of a non-disputed invoice. And if the state does not pay the small business with those 45 days, there are penalties that accrue. We also work with reciprocity partners. These are local governments like cities, counties, utilities, and even educational institutions, whereby those departments and agencies will recognize the state certification. It just streamlines the process and makes it easier for you to do business with those entities. And it's a great opportunity. Reciprocity partners, they could be a step you might want to take before working directly with the state. Lastly, let's talk about the opportunity to do business with the state through a prime contractor as a subprime. So you're kind of subcontracting on the state contract. And oftentimes a contract will require a minimum 25% of the bid to be by a certified small business. So there you have an added value to your work as a small business, an incentive for that prime contractor to work with you. These certifications, I will say, they're good for 2 years. So now that I've given you kind of the global picture of advantages of being certified, let's talk about the eligibility and how the eligibility of those 3 certifications. So on the next couple of slides, I'm going to go over these requirements you'll need to know to be eligible. First, let's talk about the small business certification. You're independently owned and operated. You're either a sole proprietor, a partnership, or a corporation. You are not a subsidiary. Your business or firm does not dominate the market for your products or service. So you don't have a 95% share of the market. Essentially, there are competitors in your field or area of business. Your offices are headquartered in California, and the owners or officers, let's say in the case of a corporation, are residents of the state. Your business has no more than 100 employees. And your average annual gross receipts do not exceed 16 million. So, okay, some of you might say, oh my gosh, I've only been in business for a year. I don't have that much in gross receipts. That's okay. You might have just started your business and only have 3 months of receipts. That's okay. You submit them. For those companies who have been in business longer, we do average the annual gross receipts over 3 years. So maybe you had a good year that was above 16 million or one that's less. So they are average, and it can't exceed 16 million over the average of the 3 years. If we have any manufacturers here attending the webinar, 100 or few employees apply as well if you're a manufacturer. However, there is no GARS cap. So there's no cap on those gross annual receipts. And for micro businesses, that average gross annual receipt of 5 million or less. You don't have to designate that on your certificate, your applications for a certification. It'll automatically put you in a micro business category. For public works, the small business for public works, the eligibility requirements that I just discussed for small business also apply. There are 2 distinctions or exceptions. One, you can have more employees, up to 200, and the GARs are up to 37 million. Obviously, public work projects are typically very large scale. We all incur them when we're on the roadway and there is some road work being done. So that's why we raise the gross annual receipts for small business public works certification. Next, I want to talk about the DVBE certification eligibility requirements. It's kind of in 2 phases, the owner and the business. So for the owner, the state does want to verify rather, that you have served in one of the armed services and that you have at least a 10% or more service-connected disability. As a disabled veteran, you must live in California. And as I said earlier, most DVBEs can also be certified as a small business certification. So remember those advantages. And for the DVBE certification, there is no employee or GARS cap, as I talked about in small business. Now, for your business, at least 51% must be owned by one or more disabled veteran. So if you have a partner who isn't recognized as a disabled veteran, they can only own up to 49%. If you structured your company as a corporation, at least one or more of those disabled veteran within that corporation has to own 51%. If you structure your business as a limited liability company, then that LLC must be wholly or 100% owned by one or more disabled veterans. Now, let's say you want to hire somebody to manage and control the daily operations of your business. That person must also be a disabled veteran. And lastly, your home office must be located in the United States. It cannot be a branch or a subsidiary of a foreign corporation, a foreign firm, or a foreign-based business. So Amanda, we've covered certification and advantages. So let's go ahead and open it up for any questions at this time.
Absolutely. It looks like we have one question. How do you report GARS for your pre-revenue startups?
Sure. We're going to cover that a little bit in the next section, but essentially you have some resources and tools that will provide you with the documents to tell you how to report out and what specific documents you'll need to attach to the application.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Joanne, are you seeing any other questions?
How long does certification take for DVBEs?
Yeah, that's a good question. Typically, you can get it in, pretty quick, under 24, 48 hours. I've known businesses that have recently. However, kind of currently, we're running anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. So I would say don't stress if you haven't heard back within that period. If after 10 weeks you still haven't heard from us, please reach out. And if you are renewing your certification, the state realizes that there's a bit of a backup, and they've extended the certification for 2 months.
Perfect.
For that renewal process.
And does this cost anything, Diane? Does this cost anything to go through this process?
No, there's no cost to certifying or registering your business.
Wonderful. I think that's it.
All right.
We're good to go.
Great. Well, let's move on to the next section, which is a very important one, because when you certify your business, you're going to go through the process of setting up your business account on Cali Procure. This is our state's centralized website. It's your one-stop shop. Your business is going to be added, as I said, to the certified firm database. This is where you will go to manage your profile. You'll have the ability to set up notifications to receive those bid solicitations. You'll have the opportunity to research solicitations and find those bid opportunities for your business. As I said, it's kind of your go-to site for resources as well, information. I just answered that question a little bit earlier about, okay, what documents will I need? How can I go about retrieving them? This is where you're going to find this information. The URL, the website is caliprocure.ca.gov, but please don't go there now. Stay with me. We're going to go through all the parts of the site so that you become familiar with it. And as Amanda said, this deck and recording is going to be shared. I'm going to give you my email at the end, so you can always reach out to me or to my colleague, Joanne, with any questions or help. And I'm going to tell you at the end what those resources can be for you. So let's go to Cali Procure. This is the home page. Remember, I said this is your one-stop shop. So I want to take just a couple of minutes to go through the navigational tools here. Up in the top right corner is the login, the registration button. You're going to be going to that quite frequently. Across the top is the menu bar. You'll see resources, which have helpful video instructions on how to certify your business. It includes 3 steps before you begin the process and links to a full list of required documents. You'll have quick links. Those are shortcuts where you can find bid opportunities, contracts, purchases, and confirmed or certified firms rather. And then lastly, there's help, which is contacts and frequently asked questions. Just below the header is a long horizontal box. That is a search option to look for current opportunities, and I'm going to go through that. Even companies who are not registered can search for the solicitations, but I will say that if you're certified and registered, there is better functionality to that search function. Next, below that are all, you'll see the 4 boxes. In the workshop today, I'm going to go through Get Certified, Find Training and Resources, and Find Public Procurement Information. That 4th box, Sell to the State. There's a video there on how to register, which is kind of the first step you'll take before certifying. And there are links in that box to the other 3 boxes. So when you go there, do bookmark this site. Let's go ahead now and click on Log in and Register. It'll take you to this page where you can enter your user and ID. But if you're a new user, then you want to begin the registration process by clicking on New Bidder Registration at that button there. I won't take you right now through the entire registration process, but in general, you're going to complete 5 steps to enter the information about your business. And as part of that process, we have added a new supplier diversity data collection, which I want to talk about a little bit. It's a voluntary supplier diversity data collection. That's a lot. That's a mouthful to say. It's for all of our new business registering, as well as for those businesses who are currently registered. You can go back into your profile and edit your bidder profile. This is voluntary. As I said, it is not required. However, for the purposes of what we do, we want to know and have a better understanding of registered and certified business owners and the demographics behind their businesses and they themselves, ethnicity, race, gender identity, and sexual orientation. So it provides a lens, if you will, for us to better serve those communities. We encourage you to participate. As I said, it kind of helps us determine where we need to be in the community. How can we outreach to support greater diversity in state purchasing? I will say, though, that when you put in your diversity information, it does not grant any preferences for state contracting. And currently, your profile is not displayed in the public search. However, when you voluntarily provide the information, you do agree and authorize the state to display information in your public certification profile if the state chooses to do so in the future. So let's get to the site and see how to certify your business. So you've registered, you've come back to the Cali Procure site. Now what you'll see is your home page actually becomes your work center. And so this is your snapshot of the information on your Cali Procure. It'll have your user ID, your bidder or supplier ID, contact information, certification information. You can see here that the certification information is not complete. Even below that, you'll see where you can edit information and add more information. So the next step once you come here is to go ahead and certify. You can certify by hitting the Get Started button. You can apply for a certification, but what I would encourage you to do is actually scroll down this page. When you scroll down your Work Center page, you're going to come to those 4 boxes that I introduced you to on the home page. They are now in your Work Center, and you're going to click on Get Certified. That's going to take you here. And so to answer that previous question, you'll see a video that can help you to certify and 3 steps that'll help you determine those documents that you're going to need. And once you've put all of that information together, you're going to go ahead and click on the Get Certified button. So let's talk a little bit about your profile, because it's important to know two things when you register and when you certify. I would say most of you all have a website. Like most companies have a website, right? And why do you have that website? Well, it offers a means to talk about your company, its people, customers, and what goods and services it provides. That is what your Cali Procure profile does. We use two systems to help you describe your business. One is registration, or excuse me, one is codes, which is used in registration, and codes and keywords, which are used in the certification process. So again, why is this important? Well, the state will send out automated emails for buying opportunities based on codes. And it's also how buyers can find your company. So we've actually found in our experience that, this is the area where businesses make mistakes. It's kind of the area that most mistakes are made. So we do like to emphasize building a robust profile. We have a second webinar in this 3-part series, which is I'm Certified, Now What? So you should want to register for that as well. But let's go ahead and talk about each of these two systems. So on the last slide, as I, let's go ahead and talk about keywords. Keywords, if you've ever typed anything into Google search, that is a keyword. It allows buyers to find you. And the keyword is going to describe your service or the product you provide. And I don't know about you, but I've gotten into a really bad habit of just putting in a complete phrase when I go to Google. It's like, find me the best restaurant, all right? Or, a phrase that we put in. You do not want to do that for keywords. You want to put in single individual words, and examples on this page of this slide is concrete, environmental, and legal. The other thing we want to emphasize is they need to be singular and not plural. Keywords or good keywords are always relatable and are common words to basically your market. Maybe you have a technical language for your industry. Those keywords you might want to put in, or you have a particular brand name that you sell. That might be a keyword that is relevant. So you can have as many keywords as you'd like to have in your profile. Another strategy might be to, how is your competition found? What keywords are used to look or to find your competition? That's another strategy. Synonyms as well that work to build, kind of a broad and specific description of your products or services. Let's go on now to the second system that we use for Cali Procure profiles, which are the United Nations Standard Product and Service Code classifications. We often just shorten it to UNSPSC. They are 8-digit codes to identify a good or service. So some of you might be familiar with NACES codes. Several of the clients, I would imagine, that Norcal PTAC works are federal contracts. They use NACES a lot. That's an industry classification. With us for the state, we use codes that describe product and services. So again, like keywords, these UNSPSC codes allow buyers to find your business and to allow you to get notifications from Cali Procure. You'll see here on the screen, there's a hierarchy of 4 levels. The more zeros you have, the more broader the description is. Fewer or no zeros is more of a defined description. So I'll use the example of paper, right? Paper material for level 1, When you get down to level 4, it might be computer, paper, perforated. So that's just kind of gives you the idea of the hierarchy. And we do recommend when you're putting these codes into your profile that you use level 3 and level 4 for best results. And one thing I just want to say is, you know, it's kind of easy for your company to certify and register. The real work begins after your certification. So it's really important that you have a robust as possible a profile. So I'm going to stop here for now. We've talked about the Cali Procure, registering, certifying, and setting up your profile. So do we have any questions for this section?
Yes, absolutely. There's a question on here. How do you enter keywords where 2 words are used to properly describe our services, such as artificial and intelligence?
AI. Yeah, that is a really good question. You can try to enter artificial intelligence. You can also just use AI. You can use intelligence as well.
And then, can I pay somebody to do this for me? Diane, are there firms out there that
you could? There are organizations that do this service. I would say you've got 2 great organizations right here on this webinar. Norcal PTAC, which has great services to help you, as well as the Office OSDS. We're here and it's free. So it might be daunting of a task, but if you just reach out, ask us your questions, we can guide you. We can't do the work for you, but we can certainly guide you, and it's all for free. So take advantage of those opportunities.
And then how many keywords and codes are you able to enter in the system?
You can enter as many as you like.
Yep.
Following the parameters I laid out.
Awesome. That looks like all the questions we have right now. Thanks so much.
Great. All right, let's move on to the next section. How are we doing on time, Amanda?
We're doing pretty good. We got about 20 minutes left till the top of the hour.
Okay. So let's move on to opportunities within Cali Procure. There are 2 areas within Cali Procure where you can find current bids, solicitations, or bid on or review past state purchases. They are the California State Contracts Registry, which is the CSCR, and also the State Contract and Procurement Registration System, also known as SKIPPers. And this is a database of all past state purchases going back to 2015. So you want to go, obviously, to Cali Procure and log in. There's also other ways to get to this portal, which is through quick links. But as I said, if you go to your work center, you sign in, you go to your work center, that dashboard, there are some better, some functionality when you log in. So I encourage you to do so. And this is where you're going to find publicly advertised competitive bid solicitations. So you'll just go to that search right on your work center. And this is what you're going to find. So you'll see a lot of search criteria boxes. The results are going to be below this. So without any search terms, it's going to bring up just all the current bid solicitations. So you can use words to describe the bid solicitation. I will say that it says event name, and that can be misleading. It actually, event name or event ID can refer to a bid solicitation. So just note that. You can just use in simple descriptions of bid solicitations by department. There's also this advanced search. We can look at that as well. Obviously, you can put in specific dates. You can put in your UNSPSC codes. Maybe you only want to work on a particular geographic area that's close to where your business is. And so those are the service areas. You might be a contractor and you have a contractor's license or potentially a different license within an industry. You can search by all of those functions. And what happens is you'll get these results that kind of look like this. And each of these entries are clickable. So it allows you to go into greater detail. So when you click on one of those search results, this is the page that's going to come up. You'll see the department name. and this is the department conducting the procurement or the purchasing, you'll see event end date. Now, this is very, very important because all bid responses must be received by this date. Anything late will not be considered, even if it's a second late. Obviously, we want to know that you can deliver on time. You'll see the contact information listed, who is in charge or responsible for this procurement or this purchase. And any questions specific to the bid would be this person you would talk to. We also have sometimes a pre-bid conference. So if that information is filled out, you can attend one of those. I want to draw attention now to the event, view event package. This is where you can open up all the documents related to this purchase, statement of work, how to submit your, submission instructions and other documents. Now, here is where you can post or advertise. And as I said, this functionality is not accessible if you're not logged into your account. This is great. You can see if a prime contractor is advertising for a subcontractor or vice versa. If you're looking to work with the prime, this is where you can put in an advertisement for that particular bid solicitation, right? I just will, couple of points that are important. If you do want to advertise, make sure you're specific and explicit in your title, and do provide a response deadline, because obviously there's an event date deadline. So you want to have enough time to put your bid together, and then put in a good written description, and always include your certification ID. So it's, this is an opportunity to really evaluate the solicitation, know if this is where you want to spend your time and your effort, do your research, obviously, to understand what the buyer wants. Ask the hard questions of the buyers, and to understand, if your company has the capabilities, and it's worth your time. Now, this is like business development in the private sector. So you want to show what what they need and demonstrate your experience. So let's go ahead and take a few questions here. I'd like to point out, I think, as I mentioned, that the CSCR are not all of our bid solicitations. It is publicly advertised competitive solicitations. So the ones that aren't here are those that are not advertised or competitive, which is the SB-DVB option. I talked about that earlier. Those are contracts between $5,000 and $250,000. And then the non-advertised, non-competitive solicitations, which are fair and reasonable, and those are purchases under $10,000. So let's go ahead and open it up for questions.
Hey, Dan, there was a question of, will I be able to find all the solicitations on the contract registers? But you answered that very well. So that was one of the questions that came up that we have.
Okay.
And just a reminder, if you guys have like industry specific questions, it's excellent. Go ahead and put those in the chat. If you have like very specific questions, it's super helpful. Then I can give you more detailed information in the chat. So.
Great. Okay. Well, let's move on there. So I said there were 2 areas with Cali Procure that help you in finding and developing contract opportunities. Does anyone remember what the second one was? Anything in the chat? Go ahead and put it in. Here's your chance. Show me that you were listening. All right. So the second opportunity for you is past purchases. And that's what we call our skippers. And the way you can find that is through the Find Public Procurement Information. And this is, again, this is really, really helpful in your research in preparing to go after solicitations. You'll want to click on that, and then you'll click on the State Contracting and Procurement Registration System, and this will bring up this page. So again, there's a variety of parameters and filters. As you can imagine, going back to 2015, there is a lot of data in here. So queries can take a long time to populate. So I just, be patient, and also put in a lot of details, dates, transactions between dates is important. You can also put in a description of, for this example, we put in construction. All right. If you have the supplier's name or a supplier ID that you'd like to look up. So this is all information, and then it will populate, as you see here, as a spreadsheet. There are many more columns over to the right that are not shown here. It'll include the department that made the purchase, the business that the award went to, how much money was spent. And you can, this is great, you can download this information. You can download, you can analyze it, and that'll help you to determine, which departments are buying my products and services, which businesses are currently getting those contracts. How do you compete or compare with them? So this is a great opportunity to see also the different types of contracting vehicles or acquisition methods used by a department, which we also talk about in our third webinar. So that was quick, short. What questions do we have here on research of past purchases on Cali Procure?
Yeah, we do have one question. We're asking, are there ever networking events with buyers like at the state offices or put on by state agencies to connect primes with subcontractors?
Okay. Those are primes with subcontractors. We don't put those on. Those are put on by our partners or organizations such as yours, Amanda.
Yeah.
We often sometimes have a meet the buyer. That's kind of where, that's where small businesses can come and meet some of our purchasers and buyers from the different departments. And those you'll often find. And a great place to look for events is on the DGS website. If Joanne, you want to put in that link, people can go there, find upcoming events. I know we have a Meet the Buyer event coming up, I want to say the end of September. But I think, Amanda, don't you do some of those events as well?
We do. And I was actually going to suggest another good way to stay informed of like these events, especially when resource partners like Norcal PTAC or like women business centers, is to sign up for their newsletters. It's very simple, usually monthly newsletter that just includes all of their events, including these matchmaking ones and ones from partner agencies like the Office of OSDS.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I thank you for that question because it's a great segue into our next section. I want to talk about the people designated within the departments that can help small businesses. And so here's another networking opportunity, right? These are advocates. So SB/DVBE advocates, and I'm going to explain their role, how to best to reach out to them, and how to find advocates. So advocates, as the name implies, supports the state's mandate to contract with small business and to build a robust, diverse small business economy for the state of California. These advocates are state employees. They work in the actual purchasing department, and they are the people who can recommend your company to buyers. So advocates are really your first point of contact and who you talk with about your products, your services, your capabilities, your experience. Essentially, they're who you market your company to. They can help answer the question about, can you sell your product or service to the state? And they can also help figure out potential solicitations now or in the future. Maybe you're a business just starting out and you need to maybe put in a strategic plan, and you might want to say, hey, look, I'm not ready now, but in 1 year's time, I want to be able to be selling to the state. So folks like Amanda and the Norcal PTAC can do that. And also our advocates can help you with that as well. So remember, just you want to hone your pitch to keep it succinct and always include your supplier ID number when you contact an advocate. The other thing that you might want to do is, this is a rapport that you build with our advocates. Maybe you have a great success story that, maybe you have some company updates. You just completed a contract or you've added new employees. Reach out to them periodically every 3 or 4 months so that they keep top of mind for your company. Where do you find them? Again, back on the Cali Procure under Finding, Training, and Resources, you're going to see under Research and Marketing a link there. If you click on it, it takes you to our DGS webpage, and there's a download of that advocate directory. This is what you'll see when you download it. It provides the department, the office, the advocate's name, the contact information, which includes the email and phone, and their department website. You can see that some of these are highlighted, and that indicates that those departments have a small business first policy. This is a formal policy that stipulates that the staff kind of approach every solicitation through the lens of small business, and they kind of work to incorporate small businesses from the beginning. We've also designated construction to find those relevant departments, and that's in column C that you'll find. So, Caltrans is a big one in construction, but there are many others. So if we have any questions for advocates, myself and my colleague and Joanne here, we're here to help you in contacting those advocates. So reach out to us if you have trouble connecting with any one of the advocates. So let's go ahead and open it up for questions.
There's no questions in the chat about the advocates, but I am going to attach the link in the chat with the description of the advocates so that you guys have instant access as well.
Great.
Fantastic. And I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A. So any last minute questions, folks, please do submit that.
We still have just a few more sections to get through.
Fantastic.
At the beginning of the webinar, I talked about emergency procurement dollars that the state spends. So I want to share with you a little bit about how you might be able to get a part of that. We have created the small business DVBE emergency registry. It's a dedicated portal for California certified businesses to register as a supplier of emergency products and services. It's unlike Cali Procure. This portal is only for businesses that can provide services and products in predetermined emergency categories. And the state buyers, they access this service, the pool of suppliers here. And so why would a business, or which business, I guess you would say, should sign up? Any small business or DVBE business that is considering registering with the emergency registry should be ready and able to support the state in an emergency. It requires a very fast, around-the-clock turnaround, and you really shouldn't register unless your business is fully capable of immediately providing goods or services. There are several categories, so you need to select one of these categories. I've just listed a few here. And here are some things that you'll need to know when you register. I want to remind everyone again, it's the importance of being truthful and accurate in describing your product and service and selecting those predetermined categories. You can imagine like what's happening now, or if we have a flood, or the State Department or agency, they can't be sifting through businesses when lives and property are at risk. So it's really essential that they make one or two calls. So just keep that in mind when you're considering adding your business to the emergency registry. Again, this is where you're going to find them. Under the training and resource page, you'll just use the link under Inside State Contracting. So let's go to the last section I want to talk about is commercially useful function. This applies to all bidding, solicitations, and participation in any contract. So commercially useful function, or also referred to as CUF, is compliance. CUF evaluation is done by the buyers or the contract administrator of the awarding department, both pre-award, post, just during the contract, during the life of the contract. It is not you or your business that determines if you are performing CUF. CUF also doesn't exist like outside the contracting process. So when you're getting certified, it doesn't automatically mean that your firm is performing CUF. You'll know you're in compliance and performing CUF. I've put a few items here on this slide. Obviously, you're doing the work, you're managing, you're supervising the labor, the performance of the work. You're not subcontracting out a greater percentage or portion of the work that's maybe expected by your industry. You're ordering, you're negotiating price, you're stocking the inventory, right? And you're making those payments. This is all stipulated by these laws here. Just to understand that you're performing CUF and that you're in compliance. Just to give you a scenario, for example, and I'll ask you to put in the chat, yes or no, simple yes or no. You get a call, you're a small business, you're certified with the state, you get a call from a prime. They're like, hey, I've got this bid. It's requiring 25% of a small business. I see you're a small business. Hey, can I use your certification? I'll just flip you back 2%. You don't have to do anything. Is that CUF? Simple yes or no in the chat. So, we want to avoid, obviously, what's called a pass-through. And the example I just gave you is a typical pass-through where you're not actually performing any of the work, right? This is not in CUF. It's not in commercially useful function. It's just important. Like, I don't want to scare anybody. Of course, there's a violation. It's a $50,000 fine, possible jail time, not to include the court costs and attorney fees. But you can avoid this, and it's very simple, and it shouldn't be scary. Just reach out to a buyer if you have any questions or concerns. It's just, there are 4 words here: honesty, truthfulness, accuracy, and be forthcoming. It's all you need to really know about CUF. Let's go ahead and take questions now that we've covered commercially useful functions. We'll open it up. And really, if there's anything else that you have questions on that I've talked about in the previous sections, please add them now here.
So people were really listening well to your CUF presentation, Diane. Everybody said no in the comments. Just wanted to fill you in there.
Yay.
There is a question here. I'm interested in working with the university. Are there procurement advocates with each UC system?
Okay, that's the reciprocity partners. Joanne, I'm gonna let you take that question. You're like the queen of advocates here. Both of I, just a sidebar, both Joanne and I started at the same time a couple months ago. So Joanne's been really covering all of the advocate program.
Thanks, Diane. I'm gonna go real quick because I know we're running short on time, but yes. So every UC system, if you go into the advocate directory, which I did put in our chat and which Diane did a really well rundown of how to get to that advocate directory, there are the UC different schools. So Berkeley, Davis, Humboldt, Cal Poly, they're all in there and they each have an advocate listed. That is the person that you're going to want to reach out to. That's the advocate for the department. That's the go-between between the buyer and you. So definitely reach out to that person, make them your new best friends. But yes, that is in the advocate directory. You can find it there.
Thank you, Joanne.
No other questions, Dan?
All right, well, let's go ahead and move here to resources. I think Joanne may have put many of these in here. You'll see an introduction to OSDS, our mission. You're going to find helpful resources. I think we've added the list of partner links for reciprocity. I also want to stress that the link to the UN SPSC codes, if you just Googled that, you would get a huge list. And what DGS has done is we've culled through that huge list and we've kind of collected all of the applicable codes to state purchases. And we've used that on our Cali Procure website. So that's a great link. They've also got some case uses listed on there. The other one I want to bring your attention to is the statewide procurement data dashboards. This is all the purchasing information available, and it's great because it gives you top 10 spends by department or top 10 spends by UNSPSC codes. So a great data analytical tool to use. Lastly, YouTube channel, we've got some great tutorial videos on there on a vast topics. Lastly, I'm just going to do a quick review because I know we're just a minute over. First of all, thank you very much. I hope that we've answered your question about our SBDVBE program, and I hope that you'll get more curious about doing business with the state and attend our other webinars, and certainly reach out to Amanda and James, who couldn't be here today, for their help. I'd just like to encourage you to do anything you can to go ahead and learn more about our buying process. as it has to do with state certifications or Cali Procure registration and certification. Remember those keywords and USN codes for your profile, and also how you can identify good solicitations that are good opportunities for your business, or actually do some analysis and some research and business development on past purchases. And don't forget to connect with those advocates. Develop your elevator pitch, have your capability statement ready so you can find those opportunities. And lastly, I do want to say, just be persistent. It does take perseverance, but the opportunities are out there, and you and your business will benefit and grow. So it'll be worth it. So couple of last items here I'll go through very quickly. Schedule a one-on-one appointment with us. We'd love to talk to you, meet with one of our business outreach liaisons, and they can personally help you to find those business opportunities for you. Let's see what else I have. Oh, we're always welcome to hear success stories, and there's our mailbox for the business outreach. And please follow us. We are on LinkedIn. Our hashtag is OSDS Business Outreach. We do post new events Wednesday for the following week. We also have tips on there to learn about contracting. And so please follow us. We'd love to have you. Again, my name is Diane Leiden. You can reach me here at my email address and my telephone number. I'll leave that up for just a minute if any of you guys want to write that down, or Joanne, I think, has put it in the chat for you. And again, thank you very much. Amanda, Norcal PTAC, thank you very much for having us participate today.
Of course.
And I'll turn it
go
back
ahead.
over to you.
Yeah, thank you. If you could go, I would like to thank everybody for sticking with us. I know it did go a little bit long, but it was just so much great information. And that is why we record these webinars. And as a reminder, we will be sending that out later today, along with all of these slides. But before you head out, I did want to bring your attention to some of our other fantastic events that we have going on this month. I'll go ahead and drop a link in a chat where you can find more information about these events and even register for them. And thank you so much for joining us. I hope you got what you wanted out of this and even more from all of these great information that we had. And thank you, Diane and Joanne, for joining me. It was so great having you, and I cannot wait until we can have you back for another webinar.
Our pleasure. We'd love to come back in person.
Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Amanda.
Soon. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
I hope everybody has a great day.